Good evening, gentlemen, on FinStalk Sports Network Extra. First time on this network for me. I must be a newbie. Of course not. This is your buddy FinStanza. I'm back with Greg, here to give you your reality check. Welcome to our premiere episode of the 2025-26 season. We're going to do this tonight. Going to take a couple weeks off, get ready for the season. I need to get refreshed, get to go down to South Florida. But before we get into our show and have some fun, I miss my buddy Greg so much. I need my reality check. Greg, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. I've had a great day, which you already know, but it's nice to see you again, Evans. Yeah. And it's been a great summer. I've been able to get on a couple different shows here and there with Steve Malloy and things like that. So still talking football, but I do miss you. I miss Brett. I miss the show. So.
Speaking of Brett, Brett didn't answer us for 5 days. I checked in on him this morning. He was going to come tonight. Lo and behold, in Delaware, in farmland that he lives, he lost power. So the sometimes Brett moniker, it sticks to his name, but maybe he'll show up.
It applies.
Over under this season, if we do about 25, 30 podcasts, over under 10?
Maybe. Oh, no, he'll be more than that. I'll give him at least 50%.
We'll work on the schedule. We love Brett. We'll get his dose of reality. If he's ready within half an hour, 45 minutes, if the power comes back, he'll join us, I'm sure. We shared the link with him. But no, guys, just take a moment to congratulate Greg and his family. He now had his 5th grandchild, the future, not Archie Manning, but the future Archie of the Miami Dolphins. You never know. You never know.
Yes. So my daughter had my little grandson this morning at 12:39 a.m. So it's been a very long but very cool day.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Honestly, kids are the best. I'm telling you, like we always say, because we're all parents here. Little kids, little problems. Big kids, big problems. But at least the little kids for grandparents, you get to go enjoy them, and then you get to leave them.
Oh, absolutely.
Do whatever you want. So it's been a long off season. Like I say, for me, I jumped in whenever there was some breaking news happening with the Dolphins, but with Minka and things like that. But besides that, I really take it easy. I really want to have a different perspective on the Dolphins' mindset, going from a bandwagoner to more of a reality check guy. That's why we do this show, because honestly, I used to be that overhyped training camp guy looking at this stuff. And you want to know what? I said, you know what? It's been a week. It's time for me and Greg to get together with Brett and talk about what we've been seeing. So let's talk about it. Let's start off. I know you've talked with Steve, you talked with Ace Perhead, you talked with Curtis. I know you've been on a few shows. I have as well. But I want to get your perspective on, before the training camp even started, how excited were you? Were you counting down the days to training camp, or were you just like, based on what we've seen for the last 25 years, you're like, we'll see well, the training camp is whatever, and we'll be ready for the season when the season comes? Or like, were you antsy? Like I started to get really antsy, like in post-draft, like when is this going to happen after OTAs and all that? But like, were you getting the itch as well to talk Dolphins?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, regardless of how I feel about the team or the talent on the team or anything like that, it's always better when footballs are flying through the air. And we used to say it, before camp and stuff like that. We're always happier when grown men are hitting other grown men in anger. All right. Exactly. It's just fun. Okay. Exactly. And camp starting and all of the news and everything else, it just makes it for, an enjoyable time. All right. I love this time of year. I love training camp. As somebody who coached and as a former coach, you like practice. You appreciate practice. It's a lot of hard work and stuff like that. But I like practice. All right. I like watching players get better. All right. And that's what we want to see out of this camp. That's what you want to see out of all camp, Yeah. But again, my quick reminder to everybody, it is still just practice.
Yes, it is.
It's not real football. It's practice.
But at least we're undefeated.
Well, we're undefeated, and hopefully the team's getting better, and that's what we want to see. All right, and this year I want to see the young kids play. I want to see them better as well. So,
so we're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to go through all the different elements. We have plenty of time tonight.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what my number one takeaway was of this offseason. And it hasn't. And I said this to Bobby, who I troll like crazy on Twitter. I sent him a message before because I asked him a question. Next thing I know, he's talking about Terry McLaurin. What a screw up on the Commanders. Eh? Oh my God. How you got to that point where he wants to ask for a trade? Like, you're on the verge of doing something great in Washington, and your number one wide receiver, your up and comer, you don't deal with him. Like, even Chris Greer had the presence of mind to deal with Jalen Waddle when it was time. Come on. But no, so speaking of that, the one takeaway I got watching this offseason, and I think you're going to agree, one of the disappointments I remember in the last game of the season was the announcement from Stephen Ross that Greer and McDaniel will be returning. And you know where I stand with who I have blamed more than the other, while Brett is with the reverse. We've had that argument. The one thing I learned this offseason is that the Dolphins' upper management is like a mafia, and that you have, as long as Chris Greer wants to be general manager, he will be general manager. Because the way he took upon going through, because he could have gone all out, he could have fought with Stephen Ross and I need to go get this player, I'm going to win you your Super Bowl this year. He put his hands in his pocket and did very strategic, not major signings, like you said, let the young kids play. Doesn't look like he has a target on his back coming into the season. If he decides to leave, he'll leave on his own accord to go do another position in the league. And then he slowly but surely, he told you he was going to go sign people, corners during training camp. All that. And I'll tell you, what convinced me that I'm okay with Chris Greer is everyone was ripping a new one on the fact that Jalen Ramsey, we were going to get nothing for, and that it was a mess. That Jonnu Smith was going to be a problem. In the end, I would not give Jonnu Smith the money he got, $12 million when Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be there. The fact that you got Minkah Fitzpatrick back to be your star safety, and you lost a guy who you were not going to triple his salary, and a guy who didn't want to be here, and you got a guy who you just basically gave him money this year, who wants an extension, who has family down in Miami. The fact that Chris Greer pulled that off, as much as you can criticize him for a lot of things, kudos on that. So for me, what I learned this offseason more than anything is, as much as people may blame Chris Greer for a lot, he is the general manager of the Dolphins. And I came to the realization that my focus is never going to be on Chris Greer, because Chris Greer is going to have this job as long as Stephen Ross wants him to have this job. And it seems like he's not going anywhere. Like, the job right now of him and Tom Garfunkel and Brandon Shore and that group, as long as they want to be as long as Stephen Ross is in charge, these guys have carte blanche. He has a lot of faith in them for whatever reason, and let's leave it at that. I don't know if you disagree or not, but that's the number one takeaway I got out of the offseason was that Chris Greer is his job until he doesn't want it anymore. He'll decide when he wants to stop being general manager of this team.
Yeah, and I kind of touched on this on Steve's show and things like that. I don't think look, Chris Greer could have went all in for the season. All right. Yes. He could have done that. I don't feel that he did. All right. Based on the draft and trading, he traded picks, he traded up, he got picks for next year, basically left a huge hole in the middle of the draft. Rounds 3 through 3 and 4, he didn't have any picks now, stuff like that. So he didn't go out and make any big splashy signings. And he did well in the trades. All right. Ramsey didn't want to be here. All right. You didn't want to pay Jonnu Smith.
I wouldn't pay Jonnu Smith. Would you have given Jonnu Smith $12 million next year?
No, I would not have. No, absolutely not. So he did well, and getting Minkah back is a really good deal. All right.
Very good deal.
All right. But I say it this way. Miami did get better on the field with those trades. Jonnu Smith is a good player. He would still be the best tight end on this roster, and Miami still has a hole in quarterback, in the defensive backfield. But you were getting rid of those guys anyway, and whatever you got in return was a bonus, and you got much more in return with Minkah than what anybody anticipated. So no, that's fine. I don't have a problem guaranteeing some of Minka's money. All right,
that's for sure. You have to. You had no
you know,
choice. You couldn't do that.
all right. So all of that, they're going to make some. They're going to make some more pickups here. There's some.
They're not done. They're not done.
There's some very big holes on this roster.
Yeah, we're going to go through it. We're going to go through it. We're going to go.
There's some very, but to your point, it's almost proof that he's not going anywhere.
No, and I'm fine with, honestly.
Well,
general managers do not. I understand we like the Harry Rosemans and we like that. In the end, the coach should be the reason why you win, not your general manager. Because there's a lot of teams that win Super Bowls, and you know who the coach was, you don't know who the general manager is. Because the coach should be good enough that you forget who the general manager is. That's my point. The Dolphins head coach should be so good, like in any other. Like people know that Jerry Jones was the coach. When people looked at Jimmy Johnson, right? When John Shula was here, no one knew who the heck the general manager was. With Andy Reid, people don't care that Brad Veach is the general manager. Like when Bruce Arians with Bill Belichick, yes, he was general manager too, but whoever was the assistant, whoever it was, no one cared. Because in the end, your head coach is the face of your franchise. We're so focused on the general manager, you seem to forget that in football, unlike any other sport, the head coach should be the standalone face of your franchise. And that's why we've struggled. Is it because the last 3 years is because, and we'll talk about him now, our head coach is on the hot seat. And I'm telling you this right now, he will be fired, but Chris Grier will not, if something were to happen. Chris Grier might resign. Chris Grier might say, I'm stepping back, but he will do it on his own. Mike McDaniel has been told, now show the kind of coach that you are. I gave you everything for 2 years. You couldn't do much with me spending the money. So now if I spend a little less frugally, use your coaching genius and do something with it, right? So for me, we're going to talk about the players on the field, but I'll just give you a perspective of what bothered me. I'm not going to be hard on him this year. I'm going to give him the chance. Do I think he's going to succeed? Time will tell. I don't think so. And that's what's nice about this guy, Sammy from Fins TV. Props to him, who's joining us on the pregame show this year. I'd love for you to join us much more on the postgame show, Greg, this season. I'm encouraging you to come on the postgame show as much as you can. I'd love to have your perspective this year. But he's not a McDaniel guy either. Is that someone asked him a question about, I think it was Ashton Davis this week. And they asked him, can you specify the body part? And he goes, it's between the hip and the foot. And I go, this is him. He will never be, he always tries to make a joke. He always likes to be quirky. He's not a coach's coach. And he has a lot to prove this year. With the weapons that he has, and we're going to talk about where the holes are, if in his 4th year as a head coach, he should be able to develop this team. He should know how to manage this team. Most of the players that he's had are there. People have said a lot of old veterans have left because they don't want to play for him. So now use your young guys and who want to play for you and believe in you and do something with it. So what are your thoughts of what you've seen so far in the first week of Mike McDaniel, and what are your feelings towards him and his mindset heading into his 4th year as head coach of the Dolphins?
He has a lot to prove. All right. And we talked about this a little bit last season, and I've been talking about it this offseason. Essentially, the last 20 plus games. All right. If we go back to December of 2023, all right, there's been a soft shell type defense that has really contained the passing game. Yeah. All right. And he hasn't figured out how to beat it yet. All right. One of the things that me and Curtis on Ace Per Head, disagree about is how you should beat this defense. All right. In my mind, you're a pass first team. Yes. All right. Your best players are on the outside or in Waddle and Hill. All right. You need to be able to design the ways to get them the ball and create big plays. All right. That's what you excelled at early on in 2023. And his inability to do that. Now, is that inability because he's got limited players at certain positions on offense that can't get to get to spots where you need to attack this? Yeah, I'd argue that. But if you're the head coach of a football team, all right, and more importantly, the play designer and play caller, it's your job to figure out how to get your best players the ball. All right.
Absolutely.
And for over a year now, like I said, 20 plus games, he hasn't been able to do that. And if that doesn't put you on the hot seat, I don't know what would.
Yeah.
And I think the team recognizes it. All right. I think Greer recognizes it. I think Ross probably recognizes it and says, all right, look, that's one of the reasons why this offseason has been somewhat benign, right?
But I'm okay with that. Honestly, I was happy it was benign.
Yeah, well, they built it up to get it to a championship roster in 2023. All right. And then in 2024, it was a lesser roster, but you were still good enough. Then you can say Tua got injured and made some dumb choices and things like that. We don't need to relitigate that. All right. But you knew that the roster was going to take another step back this year. And now it's okay. We have the core. We have our core players on offense. You've identified them, Mike Daniel, as being the core. Let's turn this around. All right. You've identified the players you want to keep on defense. All right. You let Wilkins go last year. You kept Sealer.
That worked out kind of really. I think that worked out.
Well,
after what's come out about him, oh boy. I don't know what to believe. I don't know if Max Crosby's telling the truth or not. We'll soon tell. But
yeah, I've heard some things. I haven't heard everything about it.
If you're going to drive, something went wrong there.
Something went wrong.
Trust me, the person who made the biggest mistake there, in the end, I blame Wilkins. Wilkins went for the bag, and in the end, it's going to end up. Because think about it. If he would have said to Chris Greer, I'm willing to sign a 4-year, $80 million contract, give me $50 million guarantees, he'd still be a Dolphin. You wanted your $25 to $30 million. You thought you were Chris Jones, and you didn't even make it through half a season in LA, and now no one wants you.
Well, I think he suffered a serious injury.
Jones fracture, he may never be the same.
Yeah, he might never be the same. All right, so there's a little bit of unluckiness in that, but my point is that you picked your players. All right, you know who you want to be the core of this team. They're still here. All right, we'll talk about the holes in the roster and things like that, but there's the core is here. All right, now coach them. All right, get them successful. All right, and I want to see it. Okay, I think he's flawed. I think he has flawed players on offense. All right, part of me says he's doing the best he can. All right, but the other part of me says, look. You're a professional NFL, a professional football coach. You're an NFL head coach. There's only 32 of these. All right. Prove to me you're good. And he hasn't necessarily proven that the last couple of years.
But I think this year, because they say they listen to what people are saying, Greer McDaniel said that before. I think Mike McDaniel is not dumb enough to realize. I think he's smart enough to realize that the best candidate to be the next head coach of the Dolphins is someone is the main guy on the opposite side of his staff, and he knows it. So the guy is a good guy, and he's going to do his job and all that. But he knows that they're not going to have to go far. They're not going to have to go outside this organization to hire the next head coach. They don't. They don't have to leave the organization. They just don't. They might. They're not going to leave the organization. They are not. If he's not, we all know. So let's talk about the holes in the roster, and we're going to go.
Yeah.
We're going to go defense to offense because I thought we were going to go center field down to the QB. We'll do the QB at the end. But let's talk about the secondary and Anthony Weaver. So obviously we heard the bad news that Kader Kohu out for the season on a one-on-one with Tyreek Hill. Bad luck. Ashton Davis could be out a few weeks. There's issues all throughout the secondary. The fact that so if you look at our secondary, you have Storm Duck, you have Ethan Bonner, you have Jason Marshall. You're going to have you're going to have Jonathan Jones. You're going to have Minka Fitzpatrick. You're going to have what's his name? You're going to have Mike Hilton. You have some veterans mixed with young guys, but I think I honestly think that right now they I'm not as concerned because when I look back at the 5 that played last year, Ramsey, if you look at his stats last year, did not have a great year. Kendall Fuller for $7 million as a replacement for Xavier Howard was meh. Jordan Poyer was a godforsaken awful, and Javon Holland was playing like he did not try very hard. The only person who actually tried really hard on that defense last year was Cater Cove. So I feel bad for him, and the only reason I feel bad for him is not Dolphin related. It has to do with him. He's in his 4th year, and this is a contract year for him.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to make it or break it next year. He'll be a Dolphin next year because no one's going to sign him next year. The Dolphins will be able to get him back on a $2 million minimum next year. They're not going to have to try. For me, they're going to go out in the next week or two, and they're going to try. They're going to go back to Rasul Douglas, who denied the offer, but he might want to come in. They're going to have to go get. They're going to go. I don't think they'll go after Gilmore, but I could very likely see potentially a Justin Simmons showing up here. I could see an Asante Samuel coming here just as depth. But for me personally, I want to see a backfield of Jones, Minka, Duck, Hilton. I want to see rotation. I want to see who makes the best out of camp. I don't think there's I think you have to have one veteran and one young player on either side. So I think if Storm Duck's having a good off, let him play. He has experience. He played last year. I'm fine with that. Go put him with Jones. Then if you have to put Minka and put Hilton, I personally see, and I don't know if you disagree, with the way this is structured, I could actually see a 3-safety setup for the Dolphins on defense. Because I know how you think about the defense and how you look at it, but as long as Hilton and Minka are on the field, I don't care who else is there. Because for me, the secondary right now, a lot of players last year, if you look at the Eagles of last year, most of their secondary that starred last year wasn't Darius Slay. It was their rookies. It was their rookies that they drafted. So for me, I want to develop our young players on the secondary. Don't be afraid, because if you think if our front is supposed to be as good as it's supposed to be, they should be fine. So what are your thoughts right now? You talked about holes. Where are your issues right now in the secondary?
Well, I think arguably we have one of the worst cornerback rooms right now in the league. All right, on paper, okay, and part of it is just because we have a bunch of young kids that we don't know what they're going to do, but they weren't highly drafted or anything like that either. Okay, so that's why I say arguably they got a bottom 5, cornerback room right now. All right, now. That's not necessarily. You want it to be better. You want it to be more talented. You want it to basically not suck. All right, let's put it that way. All right, but the good thing is the type of defense that Weaver runs, it kind of de-emphasizes the defensive backfield.
Yeah.
All right, we play a lot of zone. We play a lot of bend don't break. We don't mind players making catches in front of you as long as you come up and make tackles and stuff like that. All right. So you could make an argument that the talent in the backfield isn't as big a factor as it would be in other types of defensive schemes because of the scheme. All right. Like that said, you still got to cover people. All right. I don't know enough about the defensive backs right now, or to have a warm and fuzzy. Let's put it that way. All right, Minka's a very good player. All right, no issue with
Hilton.
Minka.
There's no slugs. Hilton, there's no slugs in there. He's a physical nickel.
Yeah, he's a physical nickel.
He will replace Kohu, no problem.
Yes. I don't know who's going to be on the outside. I don't know who the other safety is going to be.
I could see the outside being Storm Duck and Jonathan Jones to start the season, unless they sign Asante Samuel and he's healthy to go, and then maybe there's something there. Yeah, or maybe Jason Marshall shows something in the preseason that he proves himself. I don't know, because he has nothing to lose. So for me, I'm going to say this right now, and this will be one of my bold predictions of the season, Greg. I like our secondary better this year than I did last. Why? Holland was not good last year. Hoyer was awful. Fuller was much maligned, injured, and Ramsey did not try very hard. So a lot of the McMorris and Fatu Malanu and Storm Duck and Jonathan Jones and Mike Hilton. I like honestly the linchpin right now is Minka. And if someone tells me last year the linchpin was Holland or Ramsey, I have more faith in Minka than those two right now, because the other two were divas who were caring about themselves. Minka left here because he was told to play a position that he didn't want to play, which was ridiculous. So I believe Minka will have a better year than Ramsey will, 100%. And I think Minka likes the fact that he knows that he's the leader of that defense. On that secondary. He knows he gets to lead. So for me, are there holes? Yes. But I don't think that's, like you just said, and you make a great point, and that's why I appreciate it. That's not the linchpin of your defense. So let's talk about, I think, even though we want that, let's talk about the thing that moving up. Our stars are at the front, they're not at the back. But so far, I know it's practice, but a lot of people are throwing flowers at the linebacker core this year, which I know for Brett has been one of the worst places. You see Willie Gay getting a lot of praise throughout practice. Yes. Jordan Brooks is we all like Jordan Brooks. Like, this guy is no nonsense, kick your mouth in the teeth linebacker. Dobson was good last year. We kept it. What are your thoughts so far on the linebacker? I'm not as concerned with the way our defense is structured. I'm not as concerned about not the outside, but the inside linebacker. I'm not as concerned as some people were last year. Because they're a year older. It's consistent in the second year of the defense. I'm okay with our linebacker coach. You?
No, I'm okay with it. And I think the addition of Willie Gay is actually improved the unit from last year. I'm not going to say it's a great unit yet. No. Okay. But
I want the middle of the line. As long as they're a mid linebacker core in this. If they're a top 15 linebacker core in the NFL, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at as well. They got some players on there, all right, that can do a few things, all right. Last year, if we had this discussion, and we probably did, we would have said that linebacker was a hole on this team, all right. I don't feel that way now.
They're not focused on it anymore.
And I think the front 6 or 7 of this defense is going to be the strength.
I had a question about that for you.
All right, and I am one of these people who believes that the defense, you start in the backfield and you move forward. Okay. So my concern is the secondary, but I think the front 7 will hold their own. All right.
Yeah, but I want to ask you about
that. I like our pass rushers. I like the speed at our pass rushers.
If they stay healthy.
Well, yes, we have health issues. We could have an entire another show about health issues on this team. All right. They got health issues all over the place. But if we had just assumed that they're healthy, all right, this front 7 front 6, front 7 should be pretty good. And we have the ability to get after the quarterback. We have 4 legit pass rushers, that we can put on the field. And one of the things that I've been encouraged about in reading some of the reports at camp has been that Weaver's been experimenting with those 4 guys in pass rush situations.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, right. Incredible. Because I was worried that we were going to make like Grant or one of the D tackles force them to be a pass rusher, and I was thinking that that's a mistake. But if we're gonna line up the 4, the Sealers, Chubbs, Phillips, and Chops, and basically say, go eat, I'm happy with that. That could be a fun group to watch.
Talk about go eat. We're going to talk about the D-line now. Jalen, everyone seems to be, no one's talking about it. Jalen Phillips is on his 5th-year option. The man has to have an incredible first half of the season in the first 8 games, because he does not want to go towards the end of the season without an extension for 2026, 2027. He is going to be a man on a mission. He's going to protect himself, and he is going to eat. Chubb knows that if he doesn't have a great year, he'll be traded at the deadline. Chop Robinson, everyone's bragging about, but the key person that I want to get to now is Zach Sealer. Does it bother you that they're not taking care of their own yet? That he has not been extended? Does it bother you? Because everyone's freaking out over this, and I go, I think they know. He's a lunch pail kind of guy. They know that. $11 million to a guy who was in an RV living in the Dolphins parking lot for the first season that he was there. $11 million is nothing to sniff at. Yes, he wants to make Minka money, $16, $17 million, wants to get an extension, and because he's made like $23 million in his career or something like that, and then now he wants to double it. And I understand that, but like he knows he's going to get his. So everyone has to stop. I think people have to stop worrying about it, because I don't see Zach Sealer being the kind of guy who's going to hold out because he didn't get a contract.
No, he's definitely not the type that would hold out. All right, I have no doubts about that. Never. All right, and I do think he'll get his. He's not going to get Christian Wilkins $20+ million a year, but it wouldn't surprise me if they bumped him up to 16, 17, and he takes that.
And they're going to give, but most of it will be. I can see them giving him 16, 17, but making all of it, almost all of it guaranteed.
Yeah,
I can see them giving him like 35 to 37, 38 million, but giving him like a good 30 million guaranteed. Like he's going to be set.
Now, one of the things I will slightly disagree with you on.
Yeah.
I do think Phillips is going to ball out.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he stays healthy. I think Chubb's going to ball out.
Well, I think he does. I said if he doesn't ball out, he'll be gone quickly.
I think even if he doesn't, or if he does, I think he's gone at the trade deadline.
Even if we're doing well.
Well, what's well? Okay. And
if at the trade deadline we're I don't know the deadline how many games we will have played, but if we're 4 or 5 games out, let's say we're 4 or 5 games ahead in wins and we're in a playoff spot, they're not trading. If we're in a playoff spot or on the or around the playoff spot, they're not trading Bradley Chubb, because they know there's injuries that are going to happen on this team, which always happens, and you need depth. The one thing we have at the linebacker position is that we actually have on the edge rush position, we actually have depth this year. We actually have depth.
And I think that's one of the reasons why he could be gone even if he's playing well, is that we recognize that we have some younger, healthier players behind him.
He took a pay cut. He took a pay cut for this team, so they might give him a solid and say, if we're doing well, we're not going to ship you off we're not going to ship you out.
Yes. Well, I just think he's playing toward the trade deadline, and I think there's a very good possibility, regardless of how well he's playing this year, they're going to trade him.
Yeah.
All right.
I have a coaching question for you, though.
Yes.
Put your coach's hat on. Everyone's been talking about the fact that this defense is going to rely on the front seven, the front of the line, getting to the quarterback and making it easier on making it easier on the secondary. I don't see many teams that are able to be successful long term in that. In what way can Anthony Weaver whip up his defense to make it a successful top 10 defense like it was last year, by basically making the front of his defense the focal point and the star of the show? Because it's a passing league. Do you think this defense alone, the current makeup of the Miami Dolphins defense and their front is actually capable of wreaking so much havoc that the corners are not going to have to do as much work as people think they're going to have to do? Like, how does a defense? How does he do it? Like, everyone has they know this. Like, the offensive coordinators are not stupid. Like, how they're going to quick throw, they're going to throw slant, they're going to throw quick. Like, you can't rely. Like, so how do you? Yeah. How do you disguise? How do you build your defense where the focal point? When we've all talked about that, I believe the defense starts from the back end in this league is the passing league. How do you get your front to be the star of your show?
It's going to be really difficult for him to do that. I honestly believe that, because the best way to do it, okay, is you got to create deception and confusion along the front of the offensive line. All right. Again, if the quarterback is getting a ball out in under 2.5 seconds, all right, from the shotgun, which everybody runs now, and things like that, it's really hard to get to them with a pass rush unless you come clean. All right, you're basically unblocked. Okay, so you create a blocking assignment mess up on the O line. You disguise a blitz and something happens, or you know it's a zone blitz where you're rushing somebody from the outside and basically dropping somebody from the interior, right? What makes defensive fronts get to quarterbacks are DBs taking away quick throws. All right, I can't if I'm of the opinion, and I believe this, and the stats kind of bear this out. If you can't get there, you're not going to get there in under 2.5 seconds. You're just not, unless you're unblocked. So you got to get to 2.6. You got to get to 2.8. You got to get to 3 seconds of that quarterback holding the ball, and that means you're shutting down first reads. All right, you have to do that with your DBs. That's my concern with this defense. All right. You can say what you want about Ramsey and things like that. Ramsey was good enough to basically put into a position to take away that first read.
But he was so bad. I remember how bad he was when the play got extended. And the quarterback got outside of the pocket.
Correct.
That boy was exposed. Did you notice that? Yeah. Remember Drake May at the Patriots game?
Oh yeah,
the pocket, and the guy threw a ball, and Jalen Ramsey could not stay with the receiver.
No. That was the failing of the defense last year. All right, the year before. So what? In 2023. All right, and what made the Eagles defense last year so good? All right, they had a good front seven, but their DBs locked down that first read. All right, that's what got them pressure on Mahomes in the Super Bowl. All right, it started in the back. So if you have those young guys,
they rushed three.
They rushed three or four,
and they got to him every time.
Because they had superior talent, but it's still you had to have that quarterback get to his second read, essentially, right?
That's when Tua struggles. That's when Tua struggles.
Look, offenses today are basically set up. You come up to the line of scrimmage, you read the coverage, and the route combinations and everything else are basically you have the right side and the left side, and the coverage dictates which one of those combinations is going to be open. So, there is no working from the right all the way to the left because you're not holding the ball over 3 seconds anymore. You're going to get killed. All right. But if you stop that first read, then that gives your front seven a chance to beat a block. And that's where you have to have your cornerbacks and safeties and your nickels and things like that, taking away those quick, easy throws. If we have a defensive backfield that can do some of that, that will allow us to cook. Also, the front seven, without a safety coming down, needs to be able to contain the running game. All right. If we can get in obvious passing situations, that's going to help us as well. Because the Weaver's defense is predicated on giving up a short throw and coming up and making a tackle. All right.
By the way, it's the same thing. By the way, you want to know why that works? Because in Baltimore, it starts from the center. It starts on the back end.
Yeah.
They take Kyle Hamilton and his group takes away the first read and let the defense do the rest. And they play zone there too. If you have the kind of scheme where your players are going to follow what your coach is doing, and you're able to make your first read, defend that, and are able to tackle early on and not let the guy get into space, that's where defenses are successful.
Right. And again, the one thing I want everybody to remember, all right, I don't know how many people are watching now, but
we're watching later. We're a learning show.
but an offense. All right. If an offense has a chunk yardage play of 20 yards or more in a drive, they're over four times more likely to score points in that drive. Defenses are basically designing so that you don't get those chunk plays. All right. And that's what this defense is going to do. But to get the front seven home, to get the pass rush where we need it to be, we got to take away that quick throw, that initial read. And
I have so much faith in Anthony Weaver. Maybe I'm a little. There's some, you know what it is? It's like first impressions matter, and for me, Greg, the man acts like a leader of men. First impressions may have an effect, and when you see him, he's one of those guys where if something even goes wrong on the defense, you're more likely to this is how I always saw it. When the defense screws up, I don't blame Anthony Weaver. When the offense screws up, I blame Mike McDaniel. Because I feel like he's put his players in a position to be successful, and they weren't successful. I feel that Mike McDaniel puts his players in a position to be unsuccessful because he's making everything so overly complicated. I believe that Anthony Weaver makes his defense simple, and as long as you do your job, it's going to be successful. Like if you look at Vic Fangio's defense, he's very smart with his schemes, but it's very plain vanilla. If you look at it on its surface, there's very nook and crack, but it's very, very, very simple. Do what I tell you, play where I tell you to play, because I hope you know this. People seem to forget this. He played a lot of his own too. He blitzed when he felt like when it was the right time, but a lot of his defense was very similar to Anthony Weaver's.
No, absolutely, and he does things in the backfield to basically accentuate the front seven and the pass rush. All right. Don't forget, before the injuries hit, Miami Dolphins were sacking people like crazy in 2023. All right. Then the injuries hit and things like that, and then basically he had to blitz to generate any kind of rush.
Yeah.
And when you do that with Eli Apple at quarterback, you're in for a world of hurt.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm hoping he doesn't get to that. We get to that point this year, because if we have to cover for a long time,
we're in trouble.
We're in some big trouble.
It better be a quick throw. I want to see the ball released. The ball, not happen. Let me ask you something. So right now, as we finish up on the defense, to you, who's the leader of the defense this season? Everyone thought it was Ramsey last year. Who for you is the true, unquestionable leader of this defense?
It's got to be it's got to be Sealer right now, and if you're looking for anybody in the defensive backfield, it's going to be Minka.
Yeah, but I think this is Zach Sealer. That's why I also have faith. Zach Sealer is never going to give up. He's never going to give up on a play. He is never going to he's never going to put down his teammates. He's a lunch pail, no school football player who knows how lucky he is to be playing this game every single Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's huge. I think that is an amazing thing. I think this defense lies in the hands of Zach Sealer. So he'll get his bag when it's time to get his bag, but I don't think it matters to him. He will still show up there and play the game that he loves. So for me, the defense is not where I'm concerned. The concern falls on the offense. But before we get to the offense, people don't talk about it much. Special teams. Why do we still have two punters? Why the heck do we have two punters? We signed the punter. Jake Bailey is awful. He's been awful for 2 years. Why is he still on the roster? You signed another guy. You want to try. Why are we spending $1 million something on Jake Bailey? Like $3 million on this guy. Why is he still here? Any injury coverage? What do we care about a punter? You can get a punter off the street. Remember last year? There was a punter who wanted a job with the Miami Dolphins and sat outside training camp for weeks. Remember that story? The guy literally. Yeah. So you could get a punter at Publix. You could go to Publix in Miami Gardens and pick up a punter. Why do we have two punters? Explain to them.
I don't know.
I had to bring that up, and we still have 2 punters.
I don't understand that. I don't understand. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you can't pick, if you need to have a training camp competition for a punter, something's wrong in my opinion. But anyway,
you know what's hilarious? I seem to forget. People all seem to forget, and it's hilarious that one of the happiest moments of the Dolphins offseason was Danny Crossman being fired. Like we don't worry about special teams anymore because Danny Crossman's not there anymore. But we all forgot. Like I guarantee you, people ask who. If you ask me right now, who is the special team coordinator we hired like 5 months ago? I couldn't care less, and I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
And by the way, that's a good thing. I don't want to know who our special teams coordinator is because I'm sure you have this in life. Sometimes, and you know this when you play sports, because I've coached. Sometimes, if a guy goes unnoticed, that's a good thing. It means they're doing their job. They may not be a star, but they're there to do their job. That's what a special team coordinator is to do. They're there not to make mistakes, not to be the star of the show, right?
Yeah,
go ahead.
And I was going to say, one of the things that I'm somewhat concerned about is the depth on defense.
You're the number one thing wrong with the Fins.
What is the depth on defense and things like that for the special teams coverage?
Yeah.
All right. I have some serious questions about that.
Yeah.
It's
we need a good punter. We need Jason Sanders, and we need our punter. I forget the other guy we signed. I'm already drawing a blank on him because it was so early on. But they need to do their job.
No, if Miami's going to win games, and Miami's going to win games where they're tight to the vest, all right, with basically like last year, where they didn't score a whole lot of points and stuff like that, special teams is going to be huge.
Yeah,
it's going to be huge.
But I'm not worried about Sanders. I think the special teams will be fine. They have a new coach. They have a youthful attitude on a lot of young players on the team. I think. So let's talk about the offense. Let's start from the outside in. So let's talk about the wide receiver core. From what we've seen from camp, you see this new guy Theo Weiss with Quinn Ewers. You have Westbrook-Akine, you have Hill, you have Waddle, you have Taj Washington, you have Malik Washington, you have a good group. In the end, it all falls on Hill and Waddle. And from what we're seeing from camp, I think that Waddle has a lot that he wants to make up for last year, and I do believe he has to be equal in line. Like I think if the ball's not properly spread out in the majority of the time to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill when you're going downfield, and then Westbrook-Akine and all the other players should be where the bread and butter passes are going to happen. Where Tua is amazing at throwing those slants in very, very tight coverage. But in the end, the leader of the receiver corps cannot be a running back. Okay? Right. The leader of this, if Tyreek Hill does not have 100 receptions for 1,500 plus yards, and Jalen Waddle does not have close to 100 receptions for 13 to 1,500 yards, I don't care what the defense does. I don't care what anybody else does. This team ain't going nowhere anytime soon. Those are your 2 stars on the offensive side of the ball. And if people are going to start, yes, we're going to talk about Tua. But if you start thinking that Devon Achane and Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon and that group, and then using Westbrook-Akine, and then using the tight end core and Darren Waller once we figure out what's going on with him, if that's where you're focusing, if you're going to do a repeat of Jonnu Smith with Darren Waller or Tanner Connor or whoever you want, and you're going to be check downing it to Devon Achane, the 2 problems for me, you need to figure out how to convert your 4th downs in short yardage when you have Ollie Gordon and all that, and you have to figure out how that works. But I better tell you this, Devon Achane better be the 3rd weapon on this team on offense, not the 1st. He better be the 3rd. It's Waddle and Hill all day, or we're in trouble. So talk to me about the wide receiver core and how you believe they are the linchpin of the success of the Miami Dolphins season in terms of actually, outside of the quarterback, but That's where the ball needs to go often.
Yes, no, absolutely. All right. If you think about it like this, all right, Miami Dolphins are going to throw the ball, assuming Tua is healthy. Miami Dolphins are going to throw the ball 550, 560 times, all right, during the year. 3 out of every 5 passes needs to go to Hill and Waddle. All right.
Every single
60% of it, they combined, they better have 320 targets.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And
simple math.
What's that?
Simple math.
It really is simple math.
It's simple.
Okay. You do not design plays. You do not design passing plays for your third, fourth, and fifth wide receivers.
No.
Right? You don't design passing plays for your fourth and fifth options on offense. Okay, that you don't have the time to do that, and plus you don't want those players to have the ball, and the defense does want those players to have the ball. All right, so it's quit trying to make this more complicated than it is. Okay, it's not 20 times. All right, 18 to 20 times a game, you need to be targeting Waddle and Hill in the passing game.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody else gets all the bleed outs. Okay. If you throw the ball 35 times a game, you have 20 going to Hill and Waddle, and you got 15 going to everybody else.
Correct.
Okay. And if somebody emerges in that group to get 5, 6, 7 passes, a game, so be it. All right. But that does not change. You don't start focusing on that. You don't start saying, okay, Achane and Jonnu Smith, last year are going to be my 2 main targets, my 2 wing weapons.
That's why I don't miss Smith. I'm telling you, he would have been. By the way, him on this offense would have actually made this offense worse. I said
it did it last year.
When the fact that he's not here is good for the offense. He was too much of a safety crutch.
Well, he was.
He did his pass. Okay, I'm going to make it simple for you, Greg.
Yeah.
When Waddle and Hill get the ball, those lead to scores. Those lead to wins. Famous line. There's a famous movie. People, I know it's a stupid line. Moneyball. We're not here to try to win. We're not winning with one ball. The purpose is you're trying to get runs. And when you get runs, you get wins. How do you win games? By scoring touchdowns. How do you score touchdowns? Deep throws, getting the ball to your star players who can make actual plays, not throwing it 5 yards down the field. 5 yards down the field. Because if you happen to realize that when Patrick Mahomes was successful in the Super Bowls, he was getting the ball down the field. Last year, he ended up pulling. Did you notice you and I were talking during the Super Bowl that didn't he look a little bit like Tua last year when Tua was checking it down every time and throwing 3 or 4 yard passes? His offense. The Andy Reid's offense in the Super Bowl was Mike McDaniel's offense most of the season. It was check down all day long.
It was. Yes.
It's a disaster. You're never going to win.
Yeah, and like we talked about it a little bit, during the off season and things like that. Sometimes coaches just make things too complicated. All right, you know what? I don't care what the coverage is. My fast guy is going to run that way, and he's going to go that way, and I don't care what your read is. I don't care what's going on. Throw him the damn ball. All right? Don't make this overly complicated. All right? Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are better than most DBs in this league. All right?
They better be. For what they're getting paid, they better be.
Yeah. Give them a chance.
Yeah.
All right? Don't make this overly complicated. Don't say, well, the coverage is this and this, which means I should probably check the ball down. All right? It just never made any sense to me. The offensive game planning last year never made any sense to me. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened was that McDaniel thought that having Johnny Smith and Devon Achane, having those players were similar to Waddle and Hill, and they aren't. Okay, and if he thought that way, because I saw it in camp, I was at camp practices, and I'm like, my God, Achane's going to have 80 some odd catches this year just because it's one look downfield and then dump the ball to Achane, because that had to obviously be the game plan. And I didn't understand it at the time, but okay. But we were touching on this earlier. It's been 20 plus games. It's been since December of 23. The basically defensive have attempted to take Hill and Waddle away. How are you going to get them the ball now? How are you going to give them the opportunity? Again, 3 out of every 5 passes need to be targeted to them. Your offense will score points if that happens.
They're fast enough that you can get them the ball. I'm sorry. He has to stick with his first read and trust that his wide receiver is going to be there, and they'll get the ball. They're capable. Yeah. And personally, for me, I actually think that Jalen Waddle is more critical to the 2025-2026 season than Tyreek Hill, because he's in his fifth season. It's the fifth season or sixth season?
It's his fifth season.
Fifth season.
Yeah. And
he better be the receiver they drafted 7th. They better be the receiver they drafted 7th. Well,
it doesn't, to me,
he's
think
capable of doing. He's capable of doing.
He's capable of more. All right. Yeah. And if they didn't have Hill, he would probably be the number 1 guy and things like that. But to me, it's 1A, 1B. All right. It doesn't really matter. If there's a game where Waddle gets 12 targets and Hill gets 7 or 8, fine. If it's the other way around, fine. It doesn't matter. But those are your 2 biggest guys, and they're so much better and more explosive than anybody else that you have on offense. If you're not focusing on getting them the football, you're doing something wrong. 100%. All right. And basically, we saw a lot of wrong last year on offense because the focus seemed to shift away from them. Yeah. And I think that was part of what Hill's frustration was at the end of the season when he basically took himself out. Was McDaniel basically told him, you're going to be a decoy a lot because we're going to concentrate on getting the ball to Achane and things like that. Yeah. And it didn't work.
I was one of the guys in the minority. Oh, we should trade Hill. I go, no, you shouldn't. That wasn't Hill's fault. I honestly, we all played sports. If your coach does something that frustrates you and you're the star of that team, you're going to get upset. And I'm sorry, that Tyreek Hill is the best player, is the number 1 player you have on this team talent-wise, and you weren't utilizing him. And he was pissed. Well, yeah. This 30-something-year-old dweeb who thinks he knows better, and it's proven the last 2 seasons that he doesn't, that he's going to tell me I don't deserve to get the ball. So, in the end, I like the structure. The wide receiver core, I think, will be fine as long as Mike McDaniel coaches it properly. The tight end core, we'll see what happens with Waller. Noah Fant signed with the Bengals today. I'm fine with the tight ends because as long as the tight ends like Farrell Brown and other people can block, and they've taught Julian Hill how not to take the holding penalties, when we actually get a good run, I'm fine. I don't need superstar tight ends. Honestly, you can even see now that it's getting to the point, even for Patrick Mahomes, that just relying on a superstar tight end can only get you so far. Now, you saw last Super Bowl, he tried to go to Kelsey way too often, and it didn't work. It doesn't work, right? So,
well, it works in conjunction with some way of throwing the ball downfield.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
And again, I think Andy Reid's a really good coach.
Yeah.
Sometimes he gets in his head, and basically, they were down a couple touchdowns, and basically they said, okay, we're just going to let Worthy run fast, and we're going to throw him the ball because
he can do it. Sean McVay, McVay scored with Jared Goff with 3 points in the Super Bowl. Like it is what it is. Things happen, right? Sometimes defense, in the end, defense do win championships. Now let's talk about the running back core. Then we'll get to offensive line, then quarterback, but let's talk about the running back core. For me, if they are making Devon Achane the focal point of the running back, and they do not involve Jalen Wright, and they don't utilize Ollie Gordon or Matheson in their short game, and if I see the first thing that will get me going with Mike McDaniel this season is if it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, or 4th and 2, or 4th and 1, and Devon Achane's on the field. If Ollie Gordon or Jalen Wright or Will Matheson are not your rotational guys out there on short yardage situations, and I see Devon Achane in the backfield, the man hasn't learned a thing. Devon Achane, I'd be fine with him if he gets 40, 50 receptions. I'm fine with him if he totals 1,500 yards on offense through the air and on the ground. If he splits at 1,000 to 500, but by the way, he should not even be the 3rd target receiver. It should be a Keenan. I don't want to hear that he is getting the brunt of the workload of the offense in any way, shape, or form. If you do that, the defensive coordinator on the other side is going to say, I am going to triple cover everybody else. I will double cover everybody else. Let Achane do what he wants, because I'll still beat you. I'll still beat you.
Correct. I mean, you're basically playing into what every defensive coordinator wants you to do. Yeah. All right, is forgetting about Waddle and Hill. All right, and again. So there's been a lot of talk this offseason about how Miami's gotten more physical and so on and so forth, right? And Miami's gotten more physical on the offensive line. Drafting Grant made them more physical on the defensive line. I asked the question on X, all right, to Miami media. I was like, what makes a team physical? What makes a physical running team on offense? It's not the O-line, okay? It's the running back, okay? You have to.
Derrick freaking Henry.
It's Derrick Henry. It's Saquon Barkley. It's Taylor. It's these guys who aren't afraid to run between the tackles. Pachenko, okay? For Kansas City, Achane does not run the ball as well between the tackles as he does outside. All right. What the defenses did last year when he became the main running back is they forced him to run the ball inside.
Yes.
Okay. How are you a physical team with 180?
Ollie Gordon is the reason you're physical. Jalen Wright's the reason you're physical.
You can be physical with those guys, okay? But if Devon Achane is your primary runner and you're not going to run the ball inside,
you don't have a running game
because he doesn't run the ball well inside.
No.
Then you're not physical. All right. Your skill position players determine your physicality. All right. And Curtis and I talk about it on Ace Per Head. The linebackers are really deep in the middle of the field, okay, because they're protecting that underneath zone where Tua likes to throw. And one of the ways to beat that is to run right at them. But the defensive coordinator is not going to move those linebackers up if Achane's the one running at them. Okay, you have to think about how a defensive coordinator is going to approach the Dolphins. All right, if you told the defensive coordinator with Miami's skill positions that you're going to hand the ball off to Devon Achane a dozen times a game up the middle of the field, they're going to say, thank you. Okay? It just not only look, Devon Achane has skill. All right. Devon Achane's not a bad football player. But you got to use him correctly. Okay.
On the outside.
Right. And if Devon Achane's on the field, the defensive coordinators say, I don't want him outside. I don't want him in space. I want to funnel him inside. Okay. And if you voluntarily do that as an offense, you're playing into their hands. And I don't understand why a smart person, and I do think McDaniel's smart, but why a smart person would continually do that. Especially against the defense that they're facing.
It's stubbornness.
It's stubbornness. Or he had no faith in Wright. And
why did you move up in the draft to draft him?
Well, yeah.
Exactly. Like, that's my point. You actually gave up on a pick this season
Yeah.
get right last 2 seasons ago. But for me,
So-
when it comes to the offense, when it comes to the running core, in the end, you have to use your power. Like last year, the one I have two memories. When I think about the Dolphins, I have two memories. Pete Carroll screwing up in the Super Bowl. And last year, and I said this, I don't know if you were watching, but I got into it with Miss Fins and with who was the other guy? I have to go back to the draft show. I forget who I was with at the end of the show there. And I got into a fight how I made a prediction that as long as John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson are together with the Ravens, they're not going to win a Super Bowl. And why did I say that? Because last season, there was a stat. I don't know if you knew this stat.
Okay.
How many games the Baltimore Ravens lost last season when Derrick Henry had more than 75 yards, greater than 75 yards of rushing?
Yeah, they didn't lose any. Yeah.
How many did they lose when he had below? All of them. And in the most important playoff game where you went to sign this guy for, you throw the ball to Mark Andrews. And you end up and you put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands versus giving the ball to Derrick Henry, who had 70 yards in that game. And you're saying to yourself, I went to get Derrick Henry to win me playoff games and to be my bruiser, and let's give the ball to Lamar Jackson to win the games with Mark Andrews. And I go to myself, that's what the Dolphins do. We don't give our ball to our star players. The star player of our team, the reason why we went to get Tyreek Hill, the reason you went you moved back up in the draft to get Jalen Waddle. No, let's give the ball to Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane and Gates.
Yeah.
Like, let's do that. That's how we're gonna win. That's how we're gonna win.
No,
I like Ollie. But Ollie Gordon should be, and Matheson should be on the field on short yardage. And Jalen Wright should get as many touches as Devon Achane. Make it a competition. I don't think that Devon Achane, because of last season, what did he prove last year? He proved that he was a talented player, but we didn't win with him. We don't win.
And again, one of my favorite stats from last year, okay, is yards above expected. Okay, basically take everything out of the mix, take the blocking out, take whatever it is. All right, did the running back gain more than he's supposed to, or did he lose more than he's supposed to? Devon Achane lost. He lost. He was negative like 122 or something like that, which means he gained 122 less yards than what he was expected.
Yeah.
All right. Saquon Barkley was plus 560 or something like that. All right. Okay. Some of the stats for Barkley, I've done a little bit deeper dive into that.
Remember how they hated him at the beginning because he was making mistakes? I would forget. If you give the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and they make mistakes, I will not blame you, Mike McDaniel. I will not blame you too.
No.
Because you want to know what? For all the mistakes they're going to make, they're going to give you more positive than they are negatives.
Absolutely.
Every time.
Absolutely.
That's why I was anti-trading Waddle. Sorry, anti-trading Hill. You get rid of if you traded Hill, you're a bottom 5 team in the draft next year.
Oh, I think so.
100%. You were tanking.
And something else about Tyreek Hill. Okay. he showed up after stretching at practice again. Okay, last year or sometime during camp this time, and I'm like, "Will you all just relax?" Okay, it's training camp. He's a veteran. All right, he's not working on technique. He's not doing any of this stuff. Save his legs for the regular season. Let the kids have the reps.
No, but this is the topic. Dave Hyde from the South Florida Sun Sentinel always made this comment last season. Every time he was on with Blue Part or whatever, that last year when the Falcons were here, the Dolphins after practice were stroll in and they were doing wind sprints. The Falcons, and now every practice, oh my God, did you see the Dolphins were doing burpees after practice? They're doing wind sprints, and I go, is that going to change how we win football games in the middle of the season? Like, we're focused on wind sprints and burpees. That's what we're worried about. in training camp.
I know, and it just it cracks me up. Look, this is not high school. This is not college football. It's not Pop Warner. These are professional athletes, all right? And every single one of them has a different set of rules, all right? And every single one of them has a different set of priorities, all right? And things that they. Yes, your veterans don't work every day, all right? Because you got to preserve them.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a long damn season. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. And because of McDaniel's offense with all the shifts and all the motions and everything else, these guys are putting a ton of miles on their legs every single day. All right. Yeah, give them a break. Okay. Give them a break during the regular season as well. It's more important for them to be healthy than anything else. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, you're the best. You're the best.
I agree with you on the running back situation, though. If we run inside, if we want to be more physical, you
better
can't
be Ollie
do it with
Gordon.
H. Well, it's got to be. It's got to be right.
Matheson, Ollie Gordon. Not him. Not him. Save him for. He's a 2-down back. He's a 2-down back.
Mm-hmm.
He's not. He plays the first 2 downs. Get him off the field. I don't want to see him. I do not want to see him.
But
let's talk about the O-line. So you talked about how you want to see you. I actually was the happiest person probably in Dolphins fandom when Teron Armstead retired. Because you spent money on a second round on Patrick Paul. And I don't know if you noticed this, but Patrick Paul is a mountain of a man.
Oh, that's a big
The
dude.
man is a big boy who knows what he has to. They're talking how in pads he was taking nobody. He's taking one-on-ones, no problem. I want to see him develop. We may have not agreed with where we were in the draft by drafting Joe Savianaya, but at the same time, I like the fact that there's use on this offensive line. We'll see what happens to Daniels, Jackson, whatever, but I like to see that there's use. I'm not worried about the offensive line. Everyone is worried about the offensive line. There's no depth. There's no this. There's no that. If we're worried about the offensive line all the time, you are focusing on the wrong thing. They did what he could. He's not done. He'll go. Liam's out. Whatever. He went to get Brunskill. They're not done. He's going to pick camp bodies. There will be depth by the time the season starts. They will cut some defensive players. They will cut a receiver or two. They will cut the punter. There'll be the 9 offensive linemen at the beginning of the year, and there's going to be decent players. As long as Daniels recovers from his injury, Jackson continues to grow, Brewer does what he needs to do, and let the rookies play. Because internally, for me, the offense is not dead set on that. Okay? For me, the offensive line is adequate to do what they need to do for us to win this season. They are not going to be the reason why we fail. I'm sorry, the offensive line is not the reason why we fail. Last year had nothing to do with the offensive line sucking in the Super Bowl. It had to do with a defense that took away reads. Mahomes got overwhelmed. His receivers didn't get open, and he was screwed from the get-go, and they did not adjust until they. So for me, I'm not worried about the offensive line. Are you?
No, I'm not worried about it either. I'm the guy who basically says the offensive line is one of the least important things on the offense. Okay, again, I say this all the time. I've said it on our shows. There's 160 starting offensive linemen in the league. All right, I don't know if there's 100 good ones. All right, every year, teams are looking to upgrade at least 1 or 2 offensive line positions. All right, and every year, once you get to the playoffs, with the rare exception, Buffalo was that exception last year. All right, you're playing backups in your offensive line. All right, so if there's not 100 good starters and you need 160, when you have 200 plus offensive linemen playing in the year, you're playing bad players. All right, and the good teams still figure out a way to compensate for it. So I'm not concerned about the offensive line. I want to see Patrick Paul play. He was a 2nd round pick.
He looked honestly the guy I want to. Yeah, I want to see him develop. I want to see Jonah, Savi, and I want to see him play.
Yeah, Savi and I is a 2nd round pick. He's got to play. Okay, Austin Jackson's a first-round pick. He's got to play. All right.
James Daniels, you draft him. Aaron Brewer, you signed him. You got to play him.
You just play him, and do you want depth? Yeah, you want depth everywhere, but don't mortgage the future or anything like that for it.
Ask Carolina. Carolina last year spent more money on their guards. They spent like almost $38 million in one season on guards. That really helped them last year. That helped Bryce Young a ton. He got benched. He was so good with those offensive linemen. He got benched.
Well,
yeah. Right.
Again,
and by the way, Rob Hunt was one of the best guards in the league last year. It didn't change anything if the quarterback stinks. That's my point. It doesn't matter how good your offensive line is. If your quarterback doesn't play well and does stupid things, they can't pick stupid. It doesn't matter.
Right. And if your running back can only run outside and the defense knows that he can only run outside, I mean, what do you want him to do? All right.
And by the way, the other thing, you know this, Derrick Henry, the year he had 1,800 something odd yards in rushing, he had the worst offense. He had the 30th offensive line in football. He was running behind garbage, like garbage. It didn't matter because he's Derrick freaking Henry. Like as long as the offensive line does the simple things, your star players, which are your power backs, your quarterback, and your star wide receivers, should do the core of your offense. The offensive line is there to complement your offense, not to be the forefront of your offense.
Right, and that is a significant change from like the 90s, okay, in football, because football's changed since then. All right, and again, I'm going to go to Saquon Barkley. His stats were just insane this year. All right, but the year before in Philadelphia, with arguably, I would argue, a better offensive line than what they had in 2024. 2023's line was, in my mind, better. All right. Their running back basically had negative yards above
expected. Yeah.
All right.
You can't teach talent.
You trade Swift for Barkley, and you basically gained 700 extra yards regardless of what the O-line did.
Ask Caleb Williams and your friends in Chicago how great DeAndre Swift was for the Bears last year.
Correct. All right. He was equally bad there when it came to this. Okay. Which running back in the league had the most carries for negative yards last year? Saquon Barkley. Okay. And but he also had 55, all right, explosive plays at running back. All right. That's insane.
That's insane.
Okay. He had 7 plays where he scored a touchdown of 60 or more yards. That means, if you think about it, 7 plays basically gained him, let's say, 450 yards. That's a quarter of his yardage almost that he gained on 7 runs.
Yeah.
Okay. He rushed for 2,000 yards last year. So, he had 33 carries for negative yards. All right. He lost 80 yards in there. So if you think about it, the 55 carries that he had for 10 plus, the 33 that he had for minus, all right, essentially got him about 1,400 yards. Okay. That means he had 260 carries for 600 yards.
Yeah.
All right. He averaged less than 3 yards a carry. So, but that's the way the run game's supposed to work. Yeah. That's modern running. You don't run for 3 or 4 yards every carry anymore.
No.
It's -1 yard here, it's 0 yards here, and then all of a sudden you break one off for 20. Okay. Yeah. It's not so much the old line talent that makes those big yardage plays. Yeah. It's running back talent.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And one of the reasons, in my opinion, that San Francisco took a step back last year compared to 2023 was Christian McCaffrey didn't play the entire year. The downgrade in talent from McCaffrey to everybody else that was running the ball with them basically just hurt their offense. Yep. I thought Purdy played well last year.
Yeah.
But when you don't have that horse in the backfield in that type of offense, it's hard to compensate.
Exactly. Now let's talk about the quarterbacks. So Quinn Ewers project. I think he's better than Skylar Thompson. He's looked good for Theo Weiss, but Skylar Thompson looked good with Eric Huzukama, who's still around actually. So I'm not making big deal of the first or second quarterback, a second or third quarterback. Why? Because it doesn't matter. Because people seem to forget, and I've said this many times, Greg. No Josh Allen, the Bills stink. No Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs stink. No Jalen Hurts, the Eagles stink. Teams will suck with backup quarterbacks. Most teams stink with their starting quarterbacks. So just think about how they'll be with their backup quarterbacks. Okay? Do you think because they went to go give Gardner Minshew a lot of money to catch the Chiefs, that if they put him in to cover Patrick Mahomes, they're going to win football games? No, they won't. So for me, Tua, I like the fact that he's continuing to be a leader. He says what he needs to say. He's brutally honest. I appreciate that. But I don't care what he has to say. If he doesn't stay healthy, talk is cheap. If he doesn't play all 17 games or available for all 17 games and sit out one by choice because they choose to sit him because they're in a good position, he just needs to do what makes him successful as a quarterback. Don't go outside and be a guy who goes outside the pocket and tries to run. Throw the ball, find a guy or let it fly. Just play for the next down and don't be stupid. Besides that, get the balls to your receivers. And if Tua stays healthy, play, because in 2023, I don't think he's the reason why they lost. I think the defense was much aligned, and Mike McDaniel got too cocky for his own britches, and they became too cocky of a franchise. And there was too many holes in other spots. But at the same time, Tua's capable with the stars that he has on the wide receiver corps to be a top 5 quarterback in this league this season. I believe that. Do I believe? But if he does, but Tua has to put his money where his mouth is and do it, and not just say what he was going to do. Do it. Be a reliable, game-managing quarterback who throws the ball to his star players like he did in 2023. Don't if you're about to get hit, get rid of the football. Slide at every chance. I will never, ever, ever once this season get mad at Tua Tagovailoa or. Hold on 1 minute. My new favorite name. I hope this works. 1 second.
Who's on the council? And Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback, who is really.
By the way,
he's been fantastic.
Did you see how he? Did you see? Have you ever heard a guy butcher a name the way that? And by the way, he called Saquon Barkley? Daquan Barkley. Daquan Barkley. The president of the United States butchered 2 names like I've never seen in my life. butchered. But that made me laugh harder than anything else. Like, honestly, Tua Tagovailoa, it's going to be great. It's amazing. Thank you, Donald Trump. But honestly, Tua is this team will be successful if Tua Tagovailoa does what he did in 2023 at the beginning for most of the season and doesn't do stupid, asinine football things. He's not a football player. I always said this. Tua Tagovailoa is not an athlete. He is a passer. He is at the equivalent of a Drew Brees, Joe Montana, Dan Marino, guys who never ran with the ball. They took the ball, found the player, and released it. They are a slingshot. Their job is to release a football. Nothing else, nothing else. I want them to be a statue. Throw the ball, play again. If he does that, they have a chance. If he doesn't do that, the team's going to suck big time.
So
don't extend plays.
Tua is better than most quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a top half quarterback regardless. Okay, and I put a lot of credence on wins and losses on the quarterback position. All right, in my opinion, the quarterback that plays best in a game usually is playing for the winning team. All right, And there's a lot more bad quarterbacks in the NFL and bad teams in the NFL because of the quarterback play than there are good. All right. Even this schedule with Miami this year, if Tua's healthy, they're going to win 8-9 games. All right. Because they're
Easy.
just,
If he's healthy, they win 9. That's the point. They win 8 to 9 games without even trying if he just shows up to the game.
well, yeah, because he's going to be a better quarterback than the one on the other side of the field. Okay. And that's fine. You're going to have those 8-9 games. There's going to be 3 or 4 games, all right, that you're going to lose, okay, just because you're playing other very good teams and so on and so forth, right? It's those 4 games, all right, where you're playing good teams, where I believe you need your quarterback to step up, okay, and make plays. Okay, especially late in the game, that's where they matter. Okay. And so far, I don't have a whole lot of faith in him excelling in those positions. All right. In those teams. But even then, you're probably going to win 1 or 2 of them. All right, because you're going to be in a tight game and the other quarterback's going to screw up. It just happens. All right. And good quarterbacks don't play great all the time. All right. So this team could win 9, 10, 11 games if Tua's healthy. All right.
I personally believe Tua Tagovailoa is in the same boat as Mike McDaniel, Jalen Phillips.
Well,
if he gets himself injured, he's done. He's done as a Dolphin. If he gets concussed, he's done as a Dolphin.
Yeah.
If he has a bad year, they will cut him next year. They will release him. So and they'll eat it. So they did it with Russell Wilson in Denver. They'll do it here. They will move on. So what I'm trying to say is Tua knows he better be clean this year. He knows because the man. People think, it's all about the money in football. Tua actually loves to play football. So he actually wants to be on that field. So if he does stupid things, he won't be, and then no one will want him. If he gets injured again in a stupid way, no one is going to sign him ever again.
Well, if he gets injured again, if he misses another
for
3 or 4 games,
for stupidity.
Well, just in general,
because for example, if he throws a ball and breaks his finger for 4 weeks because someone's helmet was in the way because Austin Jackson couldn't cover someone coming out of one of the edge rushers, that's by fluke. I'm not talking an injury like that.
Well, see, I would say, based on his injury history, okay, if he loses another 3 or 4 games this year, I don't care the reason. I can't bring him back as my starting quarterback next year. Okay, I simply can't. Now, some team, I believe, would sign him.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it in jest.
Yeah, and he will be a starter because he led the league in passing. All right.
Passer rating too.
Passer rating and all of this.
Completion percentage. And
he's not a bad quarterback.
No,
all right.
He's not.
He's not bad. Is he great? I can't go there either.
I think he could be. By the way, people seem to forget Drew Brees was never in people's minds when he was 5 years in when he got basically kicked to the curb with a bad neck in San Diego. Tua's at that level now where Tua has a good season this year. He'll set himself up. Like Tua going 17 games this year, Dolphins making the playoffs. Tua extends his life in the NFL he'll be a 10-year starter with the Dolphins. Like, do it. Show that you could do it. They're going to believe in you. You don't do it this year, you're gone. You're donezo. The team.
Well, if he's healthy this year, okay,
they will make the playoffs.
Well, if he's healthy this year and they still underperform, they still have issues, beating good teams with a winning record. If they if they go 10-7 and miss the playoffs, or if they lose in the first round of the playoffs again,
they're not going to get rid of him.
Well, I can see them getting rid of McDaniel. I can see them getting rid of McDaniel, and then I can see the new coach basically saying, I'm going to give Tua one more year, and if he doesn't do what I want him to do, and he doesn't take the team to where I want him to take, I want my own quarterback. All right.
For sure.
So can I see Tua being the quarterback of the Dolphins for 10 years? Yes. Can I see him lasting only 1 or 2 more years? Yes. All right. There's a lot of things that need to play out here.
But then it's in control, because, by the way, this is his team. Well, unlike any other, because people know that Tyreek's going to take a little step back this year. They're going to ask him to not be as vocal. Jalen Ramsey's no longer there anymore. Zach Wheeler's not loud. So in the end, Tua is the face. And if Tua knows now at any time, he is the face. There's no more of these crazy veterans there that were from the old guard that are there. You need to be there to prove everybody wrong. And you want to know what? You owe it to the fans, you owe it to the team, you owe it to the owners, you owe it to the general manager, and you actually owe it to your stupid coach to actually not be stupid and be healthy.
But I would look at it this way as well, though, is this is a 6th year in the league. If the Dolphins don't win anything, all right, if they don't win the division, if they don't win a playoff game, 6 years as a starting quarterback in this league, not winning anything, that's hard to justify keeping them. All right?
Don't worry. Haley Steinfeld is going to get the marriage to Haley Steinfeld is going to get to Josh Allen's head, and he's not going to play as well this year. Come on, we know this. But did you hear that guy? Was it Peter Prisco or whatever going that the Miami Dolphins are the worst team in the AFC East? I go, like, that guy's a little drunk. Like, do people actually think the Jets and the Patriots are going to be good this year? Like, come on.
Well, look, you could make an argument that the Patriots are going to be better this year. They're going to be better coached.
Yeah,
okay?
but they're second-year quarterback, and I'm telling you, Stephon Diggs is done, and like I don't believe him.
Well, they still have problems on their roster, okay,
yes.
But they're going to be better coached, okay, and coaching still matters. All right, it's not going to take a bad team and make them great, but coaching matters, and they're going to play tight games, and they're going to have a chance to win.
Yeah, but Tua hasn't lost to the Patriots in his career, so we got that going.
Yeah, but he's lost to the Titans, when he coached there on a team.
Well, that's Bobby Melendez's fault, because Bobby Melendez lives in Tennessee, so that's Bobby's fault. I blame Bobby for every time he loses to the Titans.
But do I agree with Briscoe?
We're not the worst team in the AFC.
All right, but look, if Tua goes down, they could finish 4th.
But by the way, I will say this: Tua ain't going down. He can't. He's not. He knows this is his last straw. This is him and Mike. He knows. Plus, he doesn't want to get his sleepover buddy fired. If he gets injured, he's costing Mike McDaniel, his BFF, his job. He's 100%. It's guaranteed that Mike McDaniel gets fired within weeks of Tua Tagovailoa getting injured. It's like a guarantee. If he gets concussed or he gets injured, and we know he's out for weeks, I'm Mike McDaniel basically saying, I'm taking off my headset. I'm leaving. Goodbye. I'm not letting you fire me. I quit. Like that's the situation for Mike McDaniel. Like you might as well quit because you're going to get fired. Like if I'm him, I walk up to Tua Tagovailoa and I say, I'm going to be in your ear. You bet before every play. You have 3 seconds or you're done. I'm benching you for Zach Wilson. Honestly, we're joking around a little bit, but honestly, it's training camp. It's 1 week in. I couldn't care less about training camp. I'm happy there's training camp. I love it, but let's not make any predictions. In 4 weeks from now, when we have our next show, after I come back from vacation, before the couple weeks before the season starts, we'll see where the roster is after some joint practices, a couple preseason games. Then we'll see where our team is after the formation of the 53-man roster. But they're having because Tua hasn't thrown an interception yet in training camp. That's the highlight of our story. Come on.
Well, yeah, and this is one of those things. This is one of those media training camp things that cracks me up. Okay, the defensive line is getting pressure. They're stopping runs and things like that.
They're not wearing hats.
But is that because the offensive line is bad? Okay, maybe. All right, is the defensive line really good, or is it because the offensive line is really bad? All right, we don't hear anything about, well, Tua hasn't thrown an interception. Well, maybe because the defensive backs suck. All right. Have we thought about that? Okay. Maybe they're not close enough to make plays on the ball. All right.
Or maybe the wide receivers, Hill and Waddle, are better than the people that are covering them.
All right. One of the most dangerous things about football and training camp, okay, is sometimes you don't realize that you have good on good and bad on bad. Okay, especially at the levels that I coached. You have, you're constantly churning players. Kids graduate and things like that, right? And you're constantly doing this. We went into a game, the first game of the year, where we thought our offensive left tackle and our right defensive end were really good. Okay. They basically fought each other all camp and things like that. We got into the game and basically both of those players were dominated the entire game. And we're just like, okay, we got to completely reevaluate how we're doing everything now, because neither one of those players is any good.
Yeah.
Because the players they were up against, we didn't think were any good. But, you hide things like that. Your wide receivers might look great because the DBs look bad, and then when they face a good defensive back, they can't get open. All right, it's all those little things like that in camp. That's why I love joint practices. Joint practices expose that for you.
No, that's not what it does. The best part about joint practices is finding out if the other team does more after practice exercises.
Yeah, Steve and I talked about that on the show on Tuesday. I've always been these are professional athletes. They better be in shape, and you better be getting shape during practice.
What do you think the mystery is with Darren Waller? They're trying to get into football shape. What is it? And they won't share anything. I go who cares?
Well, yeah, and one of the things about the tight end group is I don't care how many passes they catch, just block effectively. Yeah, just block effectively. And if they can't find a tight end to block, put a 6 offensive lineman in there and just say, okay, I don't care. All right, I don't need to have 5 eligibles. Block with 6 and make just have 4 eligibles.
Exactly.
We should be able to do good, just fine.
Honestly, though, it's great talking Dolphins with you again. We're going to be getting back into it. Season's kind of around the corner. But honestly, though, the team, every team is 0-0. You don't know what to expect. I don't see this as a finished product of this team yet. There's still going to be movement on this team. And in the end, it all goes to health. If your team does not stay healthy, then you're in trouble. That's why I'm very happy that game 1 of the season is on the road, so Tyreek can't drive to the game. Can't hurt his arm, can't get arrested. So in the end, we're okay. Are you heading up any early season games or no?
I haven't made that decision yet. Part of it is I'm thinking about maybe going to Indianapolis. I'm thinking about having forcing one of my vendors in Atlanta to get me into the Atlanta game. So I want to see that stadium. I honestly don't know if I'm going to go to a game in Miami this year. If I go to any games, it'll probably be on the road.
The only reason I want to go to Miami is I always find that for me, I've done it more than once. To go to the fan club weekend, just for me, is fun. I like the fact that before a game, I can go to Bow Campers, I can go wherever, and I can see a bunch of the fans, and it has a different feel for it. And then I get to go to my place, so I'm not complaining. I look at every game. Like every time I think about going to Buffalo, I look at the tickets, and actually the most reasonable games to go to for me this season are Miami games.
Yeah.
They're actually reasonably priced compared to most other stadiums.
Well, and I don't
I'm telling
know.
you, a Buffalo Bills game, Greg, a Buffalo Bills game on Thursday night against the Dolphins. The last row in the stadium is $200 US.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know this for a fact. Don't hold me to this, but I got a feeling that they're struggling selling tickets because
100%. Season tickets are down.
well, yeah, because I'm still getting emails to come back to be a season ticket holder, and before the last couple of years they've sold out all their season tickets, and you couldn't. I know that they weren't doing this before, so
if they don't win, if they win this season, the tickets will go back up. The fact that they're not winning. The experience they give us season ticket holders in Miami is 6.
I wonder if the stadium's going to be filled this year down there.
It will be filled on the shady side, not on the sunny side.
Well, or it's going to be filled with opponent fans.
That's the one thing about the Dolphins is that people travel to watch their team because you get to go to stuff, you get to go on a vacation. Like, people don't plan their vacations to go to Buffalo. People don't plan their vacations. No offense to you living near there to go to Indianapolis. People plan vacations around going to Miami.
Well, and one of the things about one of the quirks about the schedule this year for Miami is, I think almost every game is in the Eastern time zone, except the one in Spain, right? I mean, so there's not a whole lot of places to go this year. There's no West Coast trips. There's no trip to Texas or anything like that.
Which is good for the Dolphins. They're not going to have to travel far a lot this season.
Correct. I mean, it's a pretty localized schedule this year.
It works out well. And it's the same thing. The beginning of schedule, they can get a huge head start on the season. They can. The first five games of the season, they should be 4-1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The whole thing about, by the way, the whole thing with that, all the tickets are sold out. People are begging for tickets. The problem is that people aren't showing up. Because I know this. I bought a 2 years ago when I went, or 3 years ago when I went, the training camp. It was McDonald's first year, I think. You could buy tickets. Someone could line up at the beginning and buy tickets for every single solitary practice. You couldn't stop you unless you could buy whatever you want. So people have been saying you could just show up, and if it seems empty, they'll let you in because they want to fill it.
Free.
They want to fill it. They're free.
Yeah. So
trust me, they want to make concession money. They want to make money because it's warm in there. Finally, they put fans up there and everything, so that was actually looks kind of nice. But no, they've been empty.
Yeah, and it's not surprising. So
no. So typically in Greg and Evan FinStanza fashion, we go almost 2 hours into a show without taking a breath. We can talk about anything. We're Laurel and Hardy, according to Steve Malloy. We didn't yell, we didn't scream. We just talk Dolphins football. We love it, no matter what. Always remember, you can still be a fan and be critical of your franchise. We want this team to win. We just want them to realize what they've been doing is totally wrong. Any final words before we call it a night? I'm sure you want to go take it easy.
No, I'm looking forward to our show during the year. We're going to have fun, and pre and post game show.
Come as much as you want.
I'm willing to hop on with you guys as much as you'll have me. So
all the time. Honestly, it's the most fun. Honestly, I tell people this. When I do the pregame, my wife gets it, my kid. To do a pregame show to get you riled up for a game. Like I remember before we did all this, and I remember you go to a game, you wait till an hour before the game, you're watching all the prognosticators and all that, and like you're overthinking the show, then you end up watching the game. Like I don't know about you, there's nothing more enjoyable than me doing the pregame show than you and me and Brett going bananas for 4 hours on our text chain that Bobby removes himself from. And then having the post-game show, it makes your because honestly, I don't know about you, I'm done with the talking heads. So I can't stand watching Fox and CBS and NBC. I watch that stuff after, but I'm not sitting there watching that nonsense. It could be on in the background, but I couldn't care less. I want to talk about them. I have enough knowledge about this team. I'm without a slanted view, and I wanted to engage with Steve and you and Brett and Bobby and Cap and everybody and Scotty and Dan and Daniel Me and all these guys
absolutely.
and Aladino and all these groups. I want to engage. That's where the fun is. That football's fun, whether we win or lose. So for me, this is the best part, honestly, and I can't wait. So the next time we're on our show as we go and we know that the roster's finalized, hopefully Brett can join. We can start doing some more predictions and things like that, and we'll be able to see what the roster is, and we'll do our predictions for the season that we'll monitor throughout the year.
That'll work.
Yeah, so guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out Kingswear on University Drive in Davie. I will be in Florida next week, starting on Wednesday for a couple of days before I take my family away for a week on a cruise for an event that my daughter just celebrated. That was her gift because the other gift would have been more expensive. So this is more reasonable, actually. And I actually want to go relax on a cruise. But Kingswear, I will be checking out Brett, and I'll be stopping by at that store. I'll probably buy some stuff. But I kept my promise to myself. I haven't bought any Dolphins gear for a very long time, but I'll step in and see Brett and support that store. Don't forget to check them out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out Fins Talk Today, Real Talk Fins Talk. Don't forget to check out Fins Sammy on Fins TV. Don't forget to check out Fins Faithful, Curtis Overhead. Check out all the Dolphins content you possibly can. We're all a Dolphins community, family, here to support each other. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, Fins up.
Fins up.